Hello,
Recording in
welcome to Dancer Support Mission by Sabine Chalon for Shine Your Light. This is a new episode of Dancer to Dancer, Words of Wisdom, and I created this platform to meet the dancer behind to meet the person behind the dancer and to share with you all not only the highlights of someone's career, but also the challenges behind the scenes. Truly, my wish is to bring healing into the dance world, dancing to heal, healing to dance, one artist at a time and one personal story at a time. I do believe that storytelling can give us an opportunity to learn from another person's experience, and it can shape, strengthen, or challenge our opinions and values. Hopefully, this will allow you to embark or reflect on your own personal healing journey, inspired by others' experiences. And of course, if you enjoy those interviews and you find them interesting and valuable, please share them with your friends. So today I'm delighted to welcome Gerard Mosterd. Gerard, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me. I know you're super busy, so welcome.
Yes, nice. We know each other a very long time, so it's
I
very
know.
special
I don't
to.
want to say anymore because it's too long.
Okay.
It was in the early 90s, right? In the with the English National Ballet when you were
Hmm.
dancing there.
Yeah.
And I was just visiting all the time, right? As we know. So Gerard, let's start straight into the meat of the subject. I'd like to know, why you started dancing, when you started dancing, and also when was the turning point where you decided this would be maybe a profession.
It's very simple for me, I think, because at primary school, the teachers felt that I was a professor because I was reading a lot and I was actually very successful in actually all the faculties of the school. Except that it was very difficult to make me enthusiastic to run behind the ball, like in sports, soccer. I didn't care about it. I was not interested. I was not motivated to win. I saw that there were often fights and so on. It didn't interest me. So teachers were worried that I was developing myself mentally very well, but they told my parents that please ask Gerard to do something physical, like gymnastics or something. And my mom experienced the war in Southeast Asia and Indonesia, and I think it was her ambition to become a dancer. So she projected her ambition on me, and instead of auditioning me for a gymnastic ensemble, she managed to ask the director of a ballet school in our city if I could audition. And of course, there were only girls. There was no boy in the whole history of that ballet school. So the director was delighted. And she said, of course, Gerard is very welcome. So I did my audition, I remember, in swimming trousers because I didn't have ballet costume. And I felt a bit embarrassed because there were all these girls looking at me. And anyway, I did that for a while,
So
and
how old
every
were you when you did
I
that?
think I was 10. I think
Okay.
I started late because I think for ballet dancers, usually, especially girls, they start very young.
Mhm,
But I think for boys, it's very common that they start a bit later.
mhm.
And it was like this. I remember that the best thing I liked about the class was the part of it when you could improvise. There
Okay.
was always the last part of the class because the first part I thought on a certain moment was boring. It's always the same movements again, again, and then in different formations, but always the same movements. But anyway, at that time there were lady students being prepared who were already part of the school for a long time, and the director, this lady, was very proud to have them audition for the dance department of the Royal Conservatory in The Hague.
Mhm.
And while she was preparing them to audition, my mom did something very unusual, because without asking the ballet director of that ballet school, she organized an audition for me. So I did audition there, and it's really unbelievable, because the girls of the school that auditioned, they heard that they were not accepted. And at the same time, I knew that I was accepted. So this woman was really surprised. It's amazing, because he's only here for half a year, and now he's already accepted for the conservatory dance department. So I started the education, and
so that was at 11 or something, or 12, or what? Did you start
11.
sometime? 11. Okay.
Yeah, 11 in 76, in the 70s. Can you imagine? And yeah, that's how I started to do ballet class every day, folk dance. I loved folk dance very much. Mm-hmm. Actually, I loved folk dance better than classical ballet. Why? Because I always felt it is the same kind of movements again and again. So, but nevertheless, the first few years I was very motivated to do my best. But I spent 9 years on that education. Why? Because I was very eager also to get my normal education. I wanted to be able to write, read, geography, music history, dance history, all these different subjects I also wanted to learn. And I was not the type of person that wanted to start very early with a dance career. So I left the education when I was 21. Okay. But I really had a proper education, mm-hmm. Because I always felt that if I start dancing young, that's what the companies wanted, it's very vulnerable. It made me very vulnerable, because if I break a leg or I have another injury, what can I fall back on? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I always felt, and also what is very important is actually that in the primary school, I actually had a different idea what I wanted. I actually wanted to go to university because I was interested in science. I collected minerals and shells, and I was interested in geology. I was part of a club that met every 2 weeks, and we were very deep into geology and paleontology, and I was interested in that, and still I am interested in that. If you decide to become a dancer, you have to, in a way, let's say, focus on that, and there is not so much space for all these other interests. And I realized that. So I really wanted to study long and have a broad base. So in case I get an injury, I could maybe swap and do something else that I also...
That's super clever, because, we're not told that much, when we do dance, it's all about dance. And then, if we fall, then it's hard to get up, right? If you have nothing else to...
I don't know if it's clever, but it's like I just felt that it was too insecure for me to put everything on dance. But I did put everything on dance, because during these 9 years, I also had a crisis. There was a moment that I really did not like dance at all. I didn't like the people. I didn't like this every day looking in the mirror and talking blah, blah, and all the time doing movement exercises. I just felt like, and also what is very important, what demotivated me, is that the highlight of every year studying there was one school performance.
Yeah.
And I like the performance. I like the atmosphere. You really work to end goal, and this whole excitement of pleasing the audience with a very special experience. But it was only once a year, and it was not exciting enough for me because the rest of the year it was actually every day, starting with the bar, center, Grand Allegro, folk dance, modern dance, blah blah blah. Though I also realized that I'm very lucky that I was chosen to get this special education. At that time, there was Fame on television, a very famous television series about musical kids that went to a American musical school. This my education was a little bit like this, because when you're at that school, I'm sure you experience the same. You are not only in a conservatoire with dance people, but there are musicians there as well. And I think also there I realized that I feel very close to musicians. And there was a moment during these 9 years that I felt more close to the musicians than to the dancers. But you must also know that for a long time, I was the only boy in the class.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
No,
right?
that doesn't help. And there was a
But
while.
not in the conservatoire, right?
Yeah, there was at that
Also
time.
in the conservatoire.
At that time, yes.
Wow.
And there were more boys at the music department, and they were laid back, and it was possible with them to have philosophical conversations, to listen to different kinds of music, and to get a totally different perspective on your life, on your existence. And it sounds very negative because I also have fantastic friends in the dance world. And you know that because I worked in the English National Ballet. And the best thing I can remember of the English National Ballet time is that the friends I have, like Christian Duncan, Denzel Bailey, and so it's like we had fantastic laughs.
Mm-hmm.
We did many shows. I think I can look back at when I look at my international career, I did minimal 1,000 shows.
Oh.
But that's not important. What is important is that I remember that I got a lot of laugh. I had fantastic exchanges with these friends. We did hundreds of nutcrackers and swan legs, and even now when I meet Denzel or Christian, we don't need to say anything. We just look at each other and we start cracking up, and that's fantastic. That's I'm very happy that I had the luck to experience it. But when I was at the dance academy in The Hague, it wasn't like that. It was like working very hard, and for me, not very clear for what. Maybe I lacked the ambition to become Baryshnikov. Actually, later, Baryshnikov started to become well known. Mm-hmm. And then I started to realize what you could become as a dancer. And that changed my perception. Plus, there was a student from abroad, a Taiwanese dancer, because our director wanted to internationalize our school. And in that time, this was not an international school. Now, education in dance is very internationalized. Mm-hmm. At that time, it wasn't. There were only Dutch students. Fine. But this Taiwanese student, I don't know, I clicked with this student. And he explained me, Gerard, it's very exceptional that you have the opportunity to study, because in my country, in Taiwan, we don't have such an education. Mm-hmm. And next to that, it was a boy with Chinese, Taoist, Buddhist outlook on life, which I found highly inspiring, because I had some trouble believing in this. Well, to me, it appeared as a very corrupt environment where you had to lick people's asses to be liked. And of course, you need to work very hard and be very good. But even then, it's still possible that people don't like you, even if you're good. So this boy had a fantastic mentality, and he inspired me very much. And he said, Gerard, don't look what happens around you. Just work on yourself.
Yeah, right.
Just be an example. And I think in the last few years of that education, I told you I was there for 9 years. And the last few years, I grew and I developed. And on some moments, I was liked by the school management. I did all the major roles, and people expected me to go to the Nederlands Dans Theater or the Dutch National Ballet or Scapino. I had the opportunity to do so. The Dutch National Ballet, I wanted to, but because of politics and so on, I never did audition there. And also because of being 9 years in that school, I got to know the companies very well and the people, and many exchanges between teachers and the school and the companies. And there's a lot of politics there that I'm very sensitive to that. And I felt, maybe better I don't, because I know it too well. It's small. Maybe I should go somewhere else.
Although
also,
as a Dutch person, you would have been kind of privileged, because there were not so many Dutch people in the end, in the company at the time.
Well, there were quite some Dutch people, but I don't know. It's for me also like at that time, Baryshnikov was very popular. Fernando Bujones, who's not alive anymore. Of course, Nureyev. And I looked at these films and I saw, okay, they have incredible technique. And I felt I wanted to learn more technically. And I felt that I better go somewhere where they have people who can do that, and teachers who have this technical knowledge. So one of my first auditions was the Royal Ballet of Flanders in Antwerp, and I was immediately asked to sign a contract. And in the end, I decided that's the best bet. Why? Because the teacher there, Wojtek Lowski, you know about him, he's not alive anymore, but he was the teacher of Baryshnikov. He came from from Kirov. And he was an excellent teacher, and I could learn from him all the technique that I wanted to. And actually, that was not easy to find in the Netherlands, especially if you're talking about male dancing.
Yeah.
The male dancer that inspired me was the dancer Clint Vara at the Dutch National Ballet. He was my hero. Why? Because he had an instinctual, animalistic approach, had an incredible jump. It was like, that was genius. It was, for me, that was incredible. And I wanted to
be... And a personality. I mean,
it was very special. But then I worked with the Royal Ballet of France, and there were incredible characters there too. And one of them was Koen Onzia, for example. You know, and incredible dancers. One of the best dancers I've ever came across. But
he went to ENB as well, no, afterwards.
Yeah. He was in Festival Ballet. He went to the Royal Ballet of Flanders. He switched several times, but he's a Flemish product, and we have experienced him. He's an incredible dancer, and he's from the Stedelijk Institute for Ballet. And actually now I'm in touch with Stedelijk Institute for Ballet. I want to collaborate with them now as a producer and as an impresario. And I have a very good connection with them because I have a history in Antwerp. I danced there for 2 seasons. And it was actually also an amazing time. But there I also saw that the art world, like everywhere, it's politics and it's complex and it's not always rightful. Because the director that hired me was sacked. I remember I did guest performances in Taiwan.
Yeah.
I came back to Antwerp and suddenly there was a new director, Robert Denvers.
He was sacked, sorry.
Yeah. He was sacked. No, they took him out, and I've experienced this several times because Peter Schauf was directing.
He was in Russia with me when he got fired.
Ivan Nagy got fired as well. And I've seen things like that happening everywhere. I mean, Dutch National Ballet too, I think, people they are removed, or less.
Not like that, very different. I mean, still after 20 years or 13 years, I mean, it's not it's a process,
But then for me, it was the question, did I want to stay there or not? Valery Panov was the director and choreographer. And I started wonderful with him, but unfortunately he was drinking and he was lacking creativity. On a certain moment, we did a performance inspired by music of Michael Jackson. Beat It, all the hits of Michael Jackson, and that was, it was sort of like. It was a sort of like it was a kind of cabaret show which had not much to do with the dance that we are acquainted with anymore. And I think that was his downfall, together with all kinds of political developments. Anyway, I was not really part of it because I was invited to do guest performances. What did I dance? In Taipei, I danced Bluebird Variation, Over Pas de Deux, and Spectre de la Rose. I was there for a couple of weeks. And then I returned to Antwerp, and there was a new director. And I knew this new director because he was teaching at the Nederlands Danstheater. And he was very infectious, very, you felt very good doing his class because they were very simple. And he was very focused upon feet, toes, and Stanley Williams.
Was that Robert Danvers?
Robert Danvers, yeah. But he turned out to be a little guy with a very autocratic character. And you like it or you don't like it. Well, I just calculated from me, maybe I want something else. Beside that, I also felt, I was there for 2 years in Antwerp. It's a good start, but I wanted to try a different field and maybe bigger. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to dance more different and also historical pieces. So I was very close to Judy Mailer-Thomas, who now is ballet mistress with the Dutch National Ballet. And she recommended me to take class with London Festival Ballet. And Elizabeth Anderton was teaching. And I remember the class, Betty talked to me, said, Gerard, I like you. I want you to come over here. But Peter is not here. You must come back. And then, I came back. It was the end of the season. And Peter looked at me and said, well, come to my office. And he said, I offer you a contract, but you have time till 6 o'clock to decide. So I called my friends in Antwerp, what's the situation there? And they said, Gerard, sign the contract in London. So I did. And I stick there 5 years and traveled all Britain from Aberdeen to Cornwall. Yeah. And as you know, this enormous amount of performance. It's still one of the most hardworking companies. It's actually not to be compared with the Dutch National Ballet. Maybe a little bit more compared to the Netherlands Danstheater in the sense of how many shows they do and how much they travel, because it's really a traveling company, London Festival Ballet. I experienced the change from London Festival Ballet into English National Ballet. And of course, I had the honor to perform in the most amazing venues, Théâtre des Champs-Élysées, Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, the Royal Theatre in Copenhagen, Colosseum, Royal Festival, blah, blah, blah. Amazing. And many more, and also very exciting, adventurous experiences, like that moment when we opened a new theater in Cairo and we were dancing Etudes, and the day before the premiere of Etudes, we were given a buffet in the British Embassy, or a Hilton Hotel, I think, in Cairo. And the ice cubes were not good, with as a result that the next day it was premiere. And Peter Schaufuss called himself off. He said, no, I can't dance because I'm not well. Yeah. But nobody could take my place. So I had to dance it. I was not well either. Most of us were not well. And we were dancing Etudes in these almost white tights. Can you imagine? And then suffering diarrhea. And there is this moment in a mazurka when you stand, bum, 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 and then turn around, and then it must have been an hilarious sight to see all these brown spots in the tights.
Oh, God.
in between the matinee and the evening, they had to wash these tights, of course. There's one example. But anyway, this whole time doing so many shows, it was like the most amazing experiences and a lot of laughing also.
Well,
Yeah,
when you do so many shows, it demystifies also the stage. You just go right, at one
yeah,
point. You know what I mean? The
yeah,
stress is not the same. It's like
yeah.
that's the great value of that actually.
Well, I remember that my classmates that danced with the Dutch National Ballet, they didn't have so much opportunity as opportunities that were given to me.
Yeah, of course.
Why? Because you do so many shows that also for the major roles, there's always injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So I got opportunities to rise in the hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
to do roles, I could only dream of.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I got on a certain moment a promotion. I think Ivan Nagy promoted me in the Hungarian State Opera. Was amazing. It was a Hungarian tour, and all of a sudden, as you know, if you're on a certain moment a soloist in the company, then you have your own hotel room, and the situation starts to become different. Anyway, it's great to experience that, but also, of course, you get roles that make you more noticeable on the stage. And the patron of the company was Lady Diana, the wonderful princess, which, because of me becoming, let's say, raising in the hierarchy, I had more opportunity to meet this woman and to speak to her and many other celebrities. As you know, that happens in such a situation. And when I look back, it's actually incredible. But Ivan got trouble, and like Peter Chavos, he was removed. But before he was removed, I wanted to change. I went to Paris, new company, Concordance.
You were in Concordance as well.
Yeah, but
it didn't last very long.
It didn't last very long. Yeah. But anyway, it was fantastic dancers there, fantastic repertoire. But actually, I did not go on tour with them, did not perform with them. There were only 1 or 2 shows, and the company had folded. I went back to Holland. I got an injury. It was the time when the El Al airplane got struck in Amsterdam. Maybe you remember there was an Israeli airplane.
Oh yeah, in Balmemere. Yeah,
it was a very difficult time. My parents divorced after 30 years, and I got an injury for the first time in my life. I trained in Amsterdam and landed and sprained my ankle. I couldn't walk for a couple of months. And then what to do? I played a lot guitar because it's also something important to me. I think the time that I also danced with London Festival Ballet, English National Ballet, I always had a guitar in the dressing room. I don't know if you remember that, but I was teaching my colleagues how to play and make music. And I needed that too, because I don't know, with music, it's very scientific. An A is 440 trembles a millisecond. So you can hear if something's in tune. And in the dance world, it's very, very subjective. As I told you, in my education, I felt also, and beside that also, it very much depends how people perceive you, how you perceive people. Of course, what is your talent? Do you have beautiful feet or legs or a nice face? And that's not so important in the music world. Music world, it's very important what you play. Does it touch you, and so on and so on. And yeah, I don't know. I'm a musician too. I'm not only. And later I understood that I'm much of a musician, not only because during that handicap, not being able to walk, I caught up with my friend Alexander Moniker, who danced with the Dutch-Indonesian Ballet. And we knew each other knew each other already for a long time because we both play guitar. I danced in England, and he's from England, and he dances in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And I remember you did a tour. I don't know if you were there. I don't think so. I think it was in the time of Rudy. But the Dutch National Ballet was performing in Taiwan, in Taipei. And I remember there in the hotel, I was playing guitar with Alexander Moniker, and whenever we had the opportunity, we played together. And at that moment, I was injured for quite some time. I couldn't dance. And then I went on tour with him and his girlfriend, Marise da Silveira. Maybe you remember, the Mozambican girl with a wonderful voice, very good showgirl. And I toured the Netherlands. I did many concerts with them, and I loved playing. I love playing guitar. And I must say also that I'm from a Dutch-Indonesian family. And in the Dutch-Indonesian minority in the Netherlands, but also in Indonesia, the guitar is a holy instrument. So guitar is played a lot. So it comes very natural to me. So anyway, my ankle was healed. Then I could train again. Then I auditioned, and I was taken at the Basel Ballet in Switzerland, where I had a very great time. Beautiful country too. At that time, my parents were already divorced. It was a very difficult time, maybe also because I'm very close with my mom. I still live with my mom. She's 89. We just spoke about that. And she's from Indonesia.
You know, we have 5 minutes left, so I want to know the end of your story as well. You know, so
end of my story. What is the end of my story?
Not the end of your story, but like how you develop, because you're doing so many things now. I want to hear also about that. You know.
Well, very simple. After the Basel Ballet, I was asked to do the directorship, vice directorship of a company in Ulm between Stuttgart and Augsburg. I helped building a company. I was teaching there. I was helping the choreographer to choreograph. It was an Asian choreographer who was associated with William Forsythe. So it was this type of modern ballet, which also I like very much. But I don't know. The story in it is, again, like in the conservatory, I'm always very sensitive for politics, and I felt I need to be on my own. I went back to the Netherlands and I started creating myself. And I created 40 productions, independent, and I was looking for meaning in my productions because I worked with many choreographers, and known and less known. And I always ask myself, is it possible to do a production that is telling your story and is meaningful to you? So I started creating performances that were about how it is to be raised between an Asian mother and a blonde, blue-eyed Viking father from the Netherlands. How does it feel to be raised between rice and potatoes? And I was picked up with my work by a Dutch-Indonesian festival. I got a lot of press on that. And that was the beginning of my Asian European choreographic development. Because from there, I started to jump in the normal theater network, as well as the network in Southeast Asia. I went to Indonesia because my ancestors are from there. And for 13 years, I traveled intensively there. I worked intensively there. I worked with many interesting artists and created several productions and started to produce also. I started to produce tours.
Okay.
And that is the beginning for what I'm doing now, because I couldn't, after being abroad for such a long time, I felt it difficult to connect to the existing dance world in the Netherlands. And I felt also
it was like at the beginning, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember I took classes at the Dutch National Ballet, and Wayne was there, and I don't know, there's a click with him because we're both from London and we know each other. Mm-hmm. And he said, Gerard, come to my office and we can discuss a contract. But I never considered that because of the fact that still a lot of people that I know from the time that I was studying at the conservatory, they are still there, and I don't want to be involved in this politics.
Well, it's hard to do this job without being involved a little bit in politics, because that's what the nature of the job is, really, in the end.
I'd rather work in a company where I don't know people. I mean, I know the people too well, and but anyway, in Indonesia, I didn't know the people either. It was totally new. It was an adventure, and I started to realize that there was a network. It was after the fall of Suharto. There was a military dictatorship there for 30 years. And all of a sudden, Indonesia got connected to the rest of the world because Suharto isolated Indonesia. Like now we experience with Russia, Belarus, and Trump, I think, also want to go in that direction with America. But anyway.
Let's not go into politics because I have to wrap it if it's going to stop it.
Okay.
So I would like to wrap this conversation. You have so much to say and it's fascinating, but if you had one advice to give to a young dancer, what would that be?
Follow your heart, but also think. I mean, it's wonderful to enjoy the dance belongs to youth. So when you're young and you have the talent for dance and you feel this incredible liberation of the soul, that you feel that you can elevate yourself, enjoy that. It's fantastic because it doesn't last long. There's a certain age when you are not able to fight against gravity. But at the same time, enjoy it very deeply, but also be aware that it's not long lasting and just make aware decisions.
Okay. Gerard, I have to say thank you because I don't want to be cut in the middle of the sentence. So thank you so much for being with me today, and all the best for your future endeavors.
Likewise.
Bye.
Take care, Sabine.